there was morning, there was no measure for it. No shadow to mark a boundary, no breath to count as time. Only the eternal, and the will that stands alone. I remember the first sound, not noise, command, and the dark obeyed. Light came without argument. It did not negotiate with the void. It entered, and the void stepped back. Day was named, night was named, and naming was not poetry, it was authority. Waters gathered as if summoned. The deep folded into place. The land rose like an answer. Grass spread its green across the ribs of the earth. Trees lifted their arms and bore fruit before any man had hunger. The sun was set as a lamp for the day, the moon as a witness for the night, and the stars, countless, were hung like signs across the ceiling of the world. And life moved, and the sea, and the air, on the land, everything filled with motion that had never existed. And it was not random. It was ordered. It was good. Then he formed a man from dust, not from gold, not from lightning, not from flame, but from the ground beneath the feet of the world, and he breathed. I remember that breath. I remember the dust becoming a living soul. I remember the first eyes opening and seeing the face of the one who made them. A garden was planted, not as decoration, but as dwelling. Eden stood like a sanctuary without walls. Every leaf was clean, every sound was peace. And there was a tree in the midst, and another tree also. And the command was simple, not burdensome, not confusing, not hidden behind riddles. But the serpent came, and the serpent did not begin with violence. He began with a question, and did not say reject God. He said, did God say? And I've watched that same blade used again and again. Not a sword of steel, but a needle of doubt. The fruit was taken. The bite was small, but the rupture was vast. Eyes opened, not to glory, but to shame. They saw themselves and felt exposed, not because their bodies changed, but because their hearts did. I remember the sound of God walking in the garden, and I remember the sound of man hiding. That was the first exile, not from a place, but from presence. Outside Eden, the world was still beautiful, but it was no longer effortless. The ground resisted, the days grew sharp, the nights grew cold, and life became labor. Children came, and with children came the first offerings. Abel offered with a clean hand, Cain offered with a divided heart. And when Cain's offering was not regarded, a door opened. Sin spoke, not with thunder, with invitation. Cain rose against his brother. Abel fell to the earth, and the ground drained blood for the first time. The first murder was not merely a death, it was a declaration that a man could choose himself over the image of God, standing right beside. Cain was marked, not as mercy for his crime, but as restraint upon the violence that would multiply. Multiplied, bet. Generations grow. Cities rose, tools were forged, songs were sung, but so with threats and pride and violence, and the appetite for dominance. I watched the world become loud with wickedness. Not one evil act, but a flood of them. Not one man, but many. Not one day, but continual. And yet, in that corrupt earth, a man walked to God. His name was Noah. He was not famous to men, he was not pleasing the crowd, but he was obedient. He built while others mocked. He hammered while others danced. He measured wood while they measured pleasure. The sky stayed clear long enough for them to feel safe in their mockery. And the fountains of the great deep broke up, and the windows of heaven opened. Rain came, as if the world were being unmade. The land disappeared under judgment, and my bark rose. I remember the sound of the creaking of wood holding life. I remember the cries outside. I remember the silence afterward. And the waters withdrew. The earth returned wearing scars. A dove flew. An olive leaf came back. Noah stepped into a new world. And God set a bow in a cloud, not a decoration, a covenant. A sign that the flood would not return as before. That the heart of man remained the heart of man. Time passed, and again they God. And again they burned with one ambition, to make a name for themselves. They gathered on a plain and stacked brick upon brick, and said, we will reach heaven. Not to worship, to conquer, not to submit, to ascend. And God came down, not because the tower threatened him, but because their pride threatened him. He divided their language, and when their words fractured, their unity shattered, and they scattered across the earth. As the world filled with natures. I remember that too. How quickly the strongest plans fall when the breath of God touches them. And in the scattering, one man stood under the night sky.